Hey, what's up guys? It's C-Stacks here, and we are back at our hometown local of No Limit Gaming from the YCS, and why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself real quick and tell us what you did this past weekend.
I'm Nicholas Castillo. I went to the YCS Columbus this weekend, and I played in the Genesys main event, and I made day 2 and ended 45th overall after Swiss in the second day of 4 rounds. So I ended 6 and 5 was my total record, and I believe, to what our knowledge is, I was the only White Forest player who day 2'd. So I was really happy to make day 2 with White Forest because no one else has done it, and White Forest is just my favorite deck of all time. So
All right.
I'm super happy that I made day 2 with it.
Very cool. Why don't we go ahead and get into the list? You can break down some of your choices and where all the points and stuff like that lay.
Yeah. Okay, so here I'm just gonna start off with the White Forest cards. Elza Azamina, you don't necessarily need this sometimes, but it's just such a good piece because you can just reveal it, special summon out any White Forest monster from your hand. I believe this is about 20 points-ish. I'm not entirely sure, or I don't exactly remember, but this is part of your main point engine, so that sucks, but at the same time you do need it, so very good. And then I'm playing 2 with Stellar, just because easily one of your best starters. You just need a spell trap to keep playing with it, so very good. It gets out your Sylvie, so you do anything with it. And then 3 LZ, one of your best starters as well. Send spell trap, search any monster, and then you just combo off from there. You play the 1 Rusia for consistency or random situations where you need the 1 Rusia, as well as overlays or Xyzes, stuff like that if you need stuff like that. And then 3 Sylvie, another one of your best starters, so you just want to max out on these, especially possibly bumping this up to 3 if you need to, but I believe 2 is just that nice sweet spot so you don't oversee too many monsters in starting hand, stuff like that. And then for your White Forest spells and stuff, I'm playing 1 Scourge. This is really good because the deck hates fusion matchups, so this is just really good to hit certain things like Rahu, Ketu, any kind of random fusion spell or anything else that you just don't have an interaction for with your regular Arciella, anything else like that. So this is just really good generic Omni. 2 Tails to be able to search anything, and then your 1 Woes to continue to do anything else that you need to with your Synchros, but only Synchro into White Forest. That's the only downside, but at the same time, I mean, Arciella, or my bad, Rusia or Silvera can do a lot just to book your opponent's monsters to force them to do a bunch of things. And then you have the Diabells package, Vengeance, Diabells the White Witch, and you play 1 Philia, 1 Curse. I know a few people are either doubling up on these just so you can try and get into these super quickly, but I believe it's just too much of a brick to see these and another one of these, so I just rather minimize it as much as possible to just search it out while I'm playing the game. And then your other generic Simple Spoils cards are these 2. Morian, just because freely searchable off of your Elza Azamina, because when it's used up for a synchro, you can just search out any Simple Spoils cards. So if you're going first, you always search to this. If you're going second and get it into a synchro somehow pretty early, you can just search to this and then just back row one of your opponent's monsters. So very good. I know some people are siding it, but I just believe putting it in main is fine because there's not that many things that move around the subversion, so you can just easily back row something and they're not able to stop it, and you can just put down a threat without having to worry about losing monsters or using heavy engine stuff. And then for the secondary engine in the deck, I am playing the toy cards. 1 soldier, 1 tank. You play your 3 toy boxes, and then I'm also pairing them with 3 MST in main. Obviously very good if your opponent is playing main deck, floodgates or anything else that you're not able to play around. But also, sometimes you just won't see White Forest names, but if you see MST in a toy box, you can activate toy box, set these 2, you activate MST, pop your own soldier, you search for Sylvie, Sylvie searches for Tails, and you're able to full combo from there. And it's just such a good engine that I just don't believe there's a reason you shouldn't be playing it. It just lets you do everything else and lets you go infinite combo with White Forest to make an insane end board that I haven't seen almost any deck fully break at all. And then for my non-engine cards, 1 point each, DD Crows. These are just really good in general. help me break like Draco Tail, Predaplant boards, stuff like that. Let them not recur certain things, and just very good in overall generic reasons. And then the best non-engine, in my opinion, in Genesis. I believe any single deck should be putting 6 points, or what is it, 12, what is that, 18 points total? Yeah, 18 points into Nibiru. It is easily just the most generic hand trap that like every single deck, or almost every single deck, plays into. So I just believe this is the best performing hand trap of all of them. Like of all of my non-engine, I believe Nibiru help me break boards and like play into them and just wipe out opponents super easily. And then some of the other non-engine, Dark Ruler, I really like once I had finished my deck, I still had like 2 points left over, and I was just like, there are just certain decks like RDA or other things where they just make like such a good front line that like I don't have interaction or enough interaction to take over it, because they'll have like 2 Omnis or something else. I'm not able to interact with it, but Dark Ruler just gets you there. And I feel like I may have even regretted not putting more Dark Rulers into my deck, because there were just some matchups and games where I was like, dude, if I really just had a second Dark Ruler, or if I could have seen the Dark Ruler even, it would have just cracked the board. I would have been able to play, and I could have easily like won certain matchups. And then another one that I'm playing, 1 point each, Dark Hole. I really like this. My main reason why I'm playing this over Illusion Gate, one, I didn't really want to pay for Illusion Gates, but second of all, this is just really good into the Mimighoul matchup, because your opponent summons Mimighouls to your board, whatever else. You don't want to flip them because you don't want them to plus or do anything else. You Dark Hole, you wipe out the whole board, and then all you have to worry about is them activating Room and then putting a card on your board, and that's it. So this is really good into the Mimighoul matchup, and just like anything else, just generic push to force out Omnis or anything else, or if they don't have the Omni, cool, you just Dark Hole their entire board away. And then another card that I was pairing the Dark Hole with, 5 points each, Chalice, because it just doubles up. Like, there was an Exo-Sister match that I had where my opponent, I Dark Hold, they tried to Carmile to force my Dark Hole to make me change its effect to add a card back from their graveyard to their hand, but you just chain the Chalice, negate the Carmile, you just keep going, you break their whole board, and you keep playing. So very good. Obviously, this also can't get hit by Bell, so that's very good. And another reason why I just enjoyed this card overall more. This is more specific for White Forest, but I just think it's a generically good card for Genesis. 0 points, you book your entire opponent's board, or even if you're like halfway through your combo and they do something, you can just drop this, because this doesn't book your own board. This specifically reads you book your opponent's board, and obviously it helps in White Forest because Silvera, you deal double piercing, extra things like that. So just very good. And also you activate it, then you can just send it for your effects, because they won't come back up. They'll just stay face down for the whole turn. So very good card for White Forest. And then the last card in main, some people told me to side it, but I just believe it's generically good, was Manatium Reframing, because it just makes your first end board that much more insane that it just doesn't matter. Because like every now and then, like, your opponent will have breakers as well, and if you're not able to see Scourge, you can just get that Manatium Reframing off of like possibly a single toy card, Silvera or Sylvie coming back from graveyard, or if you see that Rusia, you just use your Rusia and your Sylvie to go into Visas Armatara, and you go into this, because this is just a generic free Omni. 0 points, very good, and I just thought it needed to go in the main, because I wanted to try and max out my side as much as possible. But first, I'll go into the extra deck. Basic, you just play your one Arciela, Silvera, Diabell. Very generic, very good. Your one Poplar, your one Vengeance Dragon. This is obviously very good to be able to sync up into this, or certain ways that you're able to just like go back into the Arciela, or my bad, into the Silvera again. I don't think I ever went into the Silvera again. I think I had an option to one time, but it just didn't come up. But very good, and also it puts 2 monsters into your back row. So you activate this, you put 2 of your monsters into your back row. you're able to send them for your effects if you really need them to, but if your opponent isn't able to clear your board, you just go into Snake Eye Doom Dragon. It is easily just one of the best pushers of all time because you just use your free 2 bodies from the back row, summon it, you threaten out pushing one of your opponent's cards back into their back row. Just very good. I just don't believe there's a reason not to be playing this. And then I think I also forgot, this is 25 points because it just generically adds a spell trap back. I understand, but I don't believe like it should be too bad overall. Generic card to possibly attack all special summon monsters your opponent has, but it also lets you draw 1 card. So like those certain times where you want to see a certain like side deck card, you just summon this, draw at least 1 more time, get into that. Obviously to add your Monadium reframing, and there are certain times where like this happened more at locals where I need to get over the branded monster that's like a tower that's at 35, I believe. It's like branded Dogma something, where I just go over this and then boost up my attack points and then I'm able to run over it. And then another one that's also able to run over certain things, also just a generically good synchro, Draco Berserker. I think it came up like once or twice this weekend where it was just a generically good card to summon against like RDA or something else to like get out their tuners or everything else. So they're not able to keep like synchroing up. And then my last card was Scarlight. I don't think this ever came up during the weekend, but just like it was nice always having the option if I needed to burn or like somehow kill my opponent or wipe an entire board, like if it needed to come up, but it never did come up this weekend. There were certain points where I was thinking about going into it to like try and burn my opponent for game, but it was just not enough, or I didn't lower my opponent enough to like go into it. But still a very good card. I feel like this could have flexed into something else. What? I'm not entirely sure. And then my last one, this is specifically only a summon off of your Diabell, but I threw in an RS, as this can easily just level modulate your opponent's board. If they're an Xyz deck or anything else that falls below the attack point level, you can easily just modulate their levels and you're able to basically turn off your opponent's turn unless they have a specific 1-for-1 interaction. And I mean, your only tuners that you're going to have in graveyard are Sylvie and Arciella, which it does hurt to do that, where you have to banish them for cost to be able to also just target Omni, but it came up a few times, and in like certain situations you just have to do it, because obviously those certain matchups like fusions where you're not able to interact as much with the board because your booking isn't able to do enough. But just overall very good, helped out a lot this weekend. And then these are just my small Xyz package. I know there's not going to be a lot of other lists with like running these specific Xyz, but Tornado Dragon, I think this is like the most, this is like the best generic one. If you somehow get your 2-4 starting, you can easily just push to destroy back row. So like certain matchups where you'll just start off the game, you don't want to worry about the opponent's back row, so you're able to like get a toy monster or something else, you summon out Tornado Dragon, get rid of 1 back row, and then during like certain matchups, against a Draco Tail opponent, I made sure to put Tornado Dragon on my board, so whenever they set the Katu or Rahu, I just immediately popped it and didn't have to worry about that interaction. Another one was Giant Hand. These came up a few times where I'm just had the bodies to make it. It's just a very good target negate monster, so that's generically good. And then my last mini package, I can't take credit for this. My friend Michael, he came up with the idea just for like, I was like, oh, what's like a generic like 4 Xyz that's like able to like run over things? Just go into Utopia the Lightning. This came up against like certain random matchups like Dark Lord. I was actually able to force out a Liger Dancer this weekend by just summoning out the Utopia, and they knew I could go into the Lightning, so they were just like immediately wipe out the board. And then I was able to like play a little bit after. I think I ended up still losing that game, but just being able to force out like a Liger, if I had the toy cards, I would have probably been able to force out the Liger and continued playing to like possibly win. But because I was only with my main deck White Forest names, I was not able to. But this is just a very generically good package. Also lets you run over for like games sometimes, depending in like certain situations. So I think this was just a very like good generic extra deck that I don't think I would be changing much at all currently. And then for my side deck, very generic, 0 points, specifically Doggeran because it has the lowest defense, so you're able to kill off of Silvera easier. So you just kaiju whatever, you drop a swords on them, and then if you get to that situation, you just summon out Silvera, boom, you just can easily run over the defense on it, you're able to kill. So very good. The second one, I hope this gets pointed very much. Di-Fi. I hate this card, but at the same time, you're able to play it in White Forest because you just activate it, and then during your own turn, you send it again off of one of your monster's effects, and you just keep playing. I did this to an RDA opponent, and they just could not play much around it. And then once it got back to my turn, I was just able to get rid of it, do everything I wanted, and they were just sad about it because they were just like, bro, there's no way you're able to get rid of it and continue playing. I was like, yep, that's just how White Forest works. Another one-pointer, Cosmic Cyclone. Certain matchups where their back row just matters so much, or you just don't want to get floodgated by stuff like Di-Fi or anything else, so you just kind of need the generic like Banish. Or I know in testing, I know this didn't come up at the YCS, but against testing, I was playing up against one of our buddies, Michael, who was on Centurion, and this actually ended up coming up because I was able to target his field spell and banish it because I'm not able to destroy his back row or anything else like that. So this was just very generically good for like random things like that. And then a few last cards. Gravity Collapse, you just poop out synchros, so very good. Obviously, most of the time you're just dropping your own Visas or Matara off of this because, I mean, sometimes you care about it having the name so you can negate and destroy, but if you don't necessarily care, you'll just drop your Visa. So I've had boards where I just ended on the Charge Warrior, drew into the Gravity Collapse, set the Gravity Collapse, pop the Charge Warrior, because you're not going to need that level 6 body. So it's very good. Obviously kills your opponent's entire turn, so it's just a free win. And it needs to be pointed. I obviously don't want it to be pointed, but I genuinely do think this card needs to be like 10, 15 points a piece, like no matter what. Like it's too generically good. And then last card, I believe I should have played Lancia over this now looking back at it, but I was scared of Clown Crew, so I chose Masta Restrict on top of Lancia because this was specifically for Monarch as well as Monarch matchup, Kaiju's possibly tributing my board, and Clown Crew. So that's the main reason why I played these, but overall, my third round was up against someone playing Exodia FTK, where I really needed a Lancia to stop them from activating Cards of the Sky or something, and just like Into the Void, other stuff like that. So, or not Into the Void. I'm forgetting. Yeah, Allure of Darkness. So, I would have rather had the Lancia, but like this came up. I probably should have just put in the Lancia because I ended up just never matching up into something where this mattered, but that's just hindsight. But I mean, I possibly could have just lowered my Di-Fi number or something else to put in the Lancia. But hindsight, that's like the one thing that I possibly would have changed about my side. Besides that, I feel like it was very concise. I know I could have also possibly added in I'm not exactly I don't remember exactly what the name of the Sinful Spoils card is that summons out the other Diabells that makes it to your opponent has to set spells and traps, but that's the only other tech that I would have possibly changed in my side. But I was just trying to max out on everything, so that's why the Manatium Reframing wasn't inside or that package, because I just wanted to max out on cards that like just kill my opponent's turn or helping me like break specific boards. So I don't think there's much past that. It was a very solid list. I think I would possibly revisit it, but currently prepping for Nats, kind of just have to wait for whatever list happens, because I believe Konami is going to drop a list that either could keep this deck pretty much alive, because besides me, I don't think there was anyone else doing that good with White Forest. I'm not sure about overseas. I haven't looked at any of the other lists coming in from like I think the French Nationals, or I'm not even sure if they had a Genesis event, but I'm hoping that White Forest stays alive. And for Nats, I mean, if there's no other deck that piques my interest, I'm probably just going to be playing this again.
All right. Well, congratulations on making day 2. Hopefully next time you can take it all the way.
I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, any shout outs you want to give quickly?
Obviously, shout outs to our locals, NLG. This is the best place. I've enjoyed my time here. Legitimately, like the place that I came back to whenever I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Again. Very enjoyable playing here. And we have a pretty decent locals. We pretty much fire almost every single time for Genesis, luckily. So I've been able to get a pretty decent amount of testing in with like every single deck that I've needed to, as well as just everyone here. Obviously, person behind the camera gave me the best shark matchup of all time. Always have a good match. And then roommate Chris, piece of garbage, doesn't play Genesis, but tested against me for Vanquish Soul. And then just everyone else that comes out to play Genesis, because I really enjoy this format and I hope it stays alive and well, but I was like, I'm not entirely sure. Oh, and our friend Michael, because he helped me out, like think of all of my side, making sure my list looked nice, but at the same time, no one else theories out White Forest as much as I do, so
right.
Don't have the biggest help, but yeah, I was like, I think that's all the shout outs. Shout out to music. I legitimately listen to music every single time between rounds.
All right. Very good. Thanks. And congrats again.
Yeah, thank you so much.